Good afternoon. My warmest greetings to our honored guests, colleagues, family and friends, and most of all, our graduates of the class of 2026. It is so thrilling to see all of you here for this day of celebration. I also want to recognize all the people at the law school who've worked to make this ceremony happen. Graduates, these are people you know, staff from student affairs, student records, building services, and other departments who've been with you all the way and are crucial to our sending you off in style. Many of them are out here working today. Let's say thank you. And now let's talk about you, the class of 2026. Sitting here in your caps and gowns, you are at the end of a long journey. But you are also standing at the gateway of all that lies ahead, a new phase in your life, a future in which you are a lawyer. Here this afternoon, we are witnessing your passage. We are applauding you as you walk through that gate. And there's something solemn and momentous about that. But above all, there is joy. Above all, this is a day to celebrate. And here's some of what we're celebrating. We have 307 graduates receiving JD degrees today. We have 32 students receiving LLM degrees and 3 receiving SJD degrees today. I hear you. We have a number of students receiving graduation awards later in the program. We have 90 students being honored today for meeting our pro bono challenge, and even more of you, 227 to be precise, who participated in the pro bono program during your time at the law school for a class of 2026 total of 14,834 pro bono hours. That is incredible and truly something for all of us to celebrate. Now here in a moment, we'll hear from your SBA president and your chosen guest speaker. We'll recognize graduation award winners, and then we will applaud each and every one of you as you cross this stage. But before all that, I'm going to ask you to do a couple things, and they have to do with gratitude. I would argue that pretty much any time in life that we're saying hooray, 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 we should also be saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Because nothing truly important is achieved alone. I don't know how many of you graduates have read or edited law review articles during your time here, but if you have, you'll be familiar with the convention known as the star footnote. For those of you who don't spend your free time perusing back issues of the Virginia Law Review or another of our fine journals, the star footnote is an asterisk footnote on the first page of a law review article, and it contains the author's acknowledgments. It's where the author thanks everyone who read rough drafts and gave feedback while the article was in process. It's where the author says, a lot of people helped me with this project. Thank you to all of you. 20 years ago, exactly, as I was getting ready to graduate from this law school, a 3-year-old friend of mine and I had a thought, and that thought was that diplomas should really come with star footnotes. There should be an asterisk by our name on the diploma, and at the bottom, in tiny print, there should be a list of all the people who helped get us there. Now don't worry, I've not instituted diploma star footnotes. Your diploma will not look weird when you hang it in your office, and you won't have to explain this whole thing to your new colleagues. But we all know the degrees we receive are ours, but so many people helped us earn them. So I have 2 requests. First, please take a moment to think of all the people who helped you get here who are not here with you today, whether because they could not make the trip or because they are no longer with us. Family, mentors, teachers, friends, let's take a moment of silence to give them thanks. And here's my second request. Some of the people who belong in your star footnote are here today. Parents, grandparents, siblings, family, friends, loved ones, they are here with you, so let's give them the applause they deserve. And now on with the celebration. It's my pleasure to introduce the 2025-26 President of our Student Bar Association, Mark Graff, who will introduce today's speaker. I'm going to say a few words about you. Mark received his undergraduate degree here at UVA, where he majored in government and minored in social entrepreneurship. So, Mark, I guess today's the day you officially become a double who, so congratulations. As an undergraduate, Mark served as the president of Delta Upsilon Fraternity, and he founded the Virginia Department of Politics Oratory Competition. He also served as an undergraduate peer advisor, a research assistant in the Department of Politics, and a member of the Jefferson Literary and Debating Society. Here at the law school, Mark once again jumped straight into student activities. He served as the vice president of the first-year council and as the law school representative to the Graduate Professional Council. He served as an editor for the Virginia Journal of International Law and as an online editor for the Virginia Law Weekly. Mark also participated both in North Ground Softball League and the Libel Show. Following graduation, Mark will join Milbank LLP as an associate in the firm's Washington, D.C. office. Mark, I've so enjoyed working with you this year. We've all been enormously lucky to have you as our SBA president, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the lectern.
Thank you, Dean Kendrick, for the kind introduction. While we are all very fortunate to be the second class to graduate under Dean Kendrick's leadership, I believe we also have the distinct privilege of being the last class, at least for a little while, to graduate having had the opportunity to learn under Dean Kendrick as a 1L doctrinal professor, as I did in torts. We thank you for your tireless dedication and commitment to our school. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my deep privilege to stand before you all today on behalf of the graduating class of 2026 of the University of Virginia School of Law. Before anything else, I want to begin with a few thank yous. And honestly, this was the easiest part of the speech to write because there are so many people without whom none of us would be here today. First, I would like to thank the faculty in attendance and all the faculty who challenged us intellectually, supported us personally, and shaped us into lawyers prepared to enter a profession that needs thoughtful and principled people. The class of 2026 is deeply grateful for your mentorship and investment in all of us. I also want to thank our incredible law school staff, who always put a smile on our face, and without who this law school would not run. Thank you so much for all that you do. I also want to thank Will Chambers and Miles Cooper for their service as our graduation co-chairs. And for Will, our SBA Vice President, thank you for standing beside me through our time in SBA and law school. As some of you know, this is not Will and I's first time graduating together. We graduated from the same high school about 7 years ago today. Will, there's no one I'd rather walk the stage with again than you. Lastly, on a personal note, I want to thank my family, friends, and the many people in this audience who have supported me throughout the past 3 years. In particular, I want to thank my fiancée, Audrey, who started dating me only a few months before law school and somehow never looked back. Thank you for being my constant source of support throughout every stressful moment, which, as of those who know me well can attest, was quite a few moments over the past several years. Law school is not always easy, and all of us are only here because of the people we had like this around us, supporting us through the difficult parts. As Dean Kendrick said, our accomplishment today is just as much theirs as it is ours. My first connection to UVA Law actually came from one of my undergraduate professors. I had just transferred to UVA during COVID, which, as you can imagine, is not an easy time to transfer schools. I requested to enroll in his upper-level constitutional law course, to which he told me no. But what he did do was continually invest in making sure I felt connected during what could have otherwise been a very isolating transition. He encouraged me to take his other classes, met with me socially distanced on the lawn, and eventually invited me to dinners at his house, continually checked in on me just because he cared. And Professor Todd, who's in the audience, thank you for showing me what UVA is all about. Professor Todd also connected me with a then UVA law student who had also transferred to UVA from the same college. That introduction led to more introductions and to more conversations with other UVA law students who all described a place with the same kind of culture of what Professor Todd had shown me personally, something I really wanted more of. They described a community where professors knew students beyond the classroom, and where everyone invested in relationships not because they had to, but because they genuinely wanted to. What also struck me was they all described the school with such an infectious sense of loyalty and enthusiasm that it made me wonder whether they were exaggerating just a little bit. After 3 years speaking to a crowd of graduates, I can pretty confidently say they were not. Reflecting on my time here, I think I understand a little more clearly what makes this place so special. The school we know and the experience we had only exists because generations of students, faculty, and staff cared enough to give a part of themselves to it. There's a certain kind of earnestness to our community that can almost feel unfashionable now. Caring deeply about things requires vulnerability, and vulnerability risks criticism, disappointment, even embarrassment. At a prestigious institution like this one, we're often incentivized to approach everything by asking, what do I get out of this? Time and time again, I watched my classmates resist that urge. When Canvas went down during finals, we saw students send their notes and outlines without regard for the curve. We saw students use the legal skill they developed here to serve others who needed help, often quietly and without any expectation of recognition. We saw students put themselves out there on the stage at the Livel show to lovingly poke fun of professors, classmates, and student life, because laughing at the oddities of law school makes the hard parts more manageable. Not to mention the countless hours I've seen all my classmates pour into their passions, from the leadership of student organizations, mentoring young students, organizing events, and helping sustain the traditions and communities that make this school what it is. Most of these moments will not show up on our firm bio pages or resumes, but I do suspect that these moments, added up, were the ones that actually defined our experience here. I know for many of us, graduation feels bittersweet. Some of us, like myself, feel excited to enter the workforce for the first time. Others who are returning to the workforce have told me how incredibly, we'll say, optimistic that view is. But I think all of us feel that we are leaving behind a community that became a deeply meaningful part of our lives. To me, it always seems like life asks you to move on to the next thing, right when you finally feel like you've hit your stride. And while it's been amazing to spend this time surrounded by people who bought into this school's ethos, it does not mean that this has to end here. My hope is that all of us will carry forward the best parts of this community with us. The world, and frankly the legal profession, may give us plenty of reasons to become cynical. Instead, I hope we continue to care sincerely about the people around us, just for the sake of doing so. To invest in our communities without concern for recognition or reward. To pursue our passions openly and proudly, with no fear of the critic. And to have the courage to remain authentically ourselves in the way we shape the world around us. To me, that's the UVA way. And having had the privilege of knowing all of you, I have no doubt that's just what we'll do. It's been the honor of a lifetime to serve as your SBA president and to grow alongside you all these past 3 years. I can't wait to see what this class accomplishes next. Congratulations, class of 2026. It is now my honor to introduce our commencement speaker, David Baldacci, a 1989 graduate of the University of Virginia School of Law. Mr. Baldacci is a #1 New York Times best-selling author who has published more than 50 nationally and internationally best-selling novels. His novels are published in over 80 countries and have sold over 130 million copies worldwide, several of which have been adapted to film or television. This will also be Mr. Baldacci's second time speaking at a UVA Law graduation, the first being Dean Kendrick's own graduation 20 years ago, so we're in good company. Lastly, I wish to note, as a best-selling author and accomplished writer, Mr. Baldacci is uniquely, and perhaps unfairly, positioned to write a better graduation speech than the one you just heard. So please keep that in mind. Please join me in welcoming David Baldacci to the podium.
Well, Mark, thank you for the introduction. I want to thank you even more for the words you said before the introduction. I think you were spot on, and there was a lot of bedrock truth there. I graduated from this university 40 years ago, this May. And you know you are getting old when you gave the commencement speech for your dean. And you also know you're getting old when all the portraits in the law school back there are all of your former professors. This is probably the last shot I have to talk to all of you here. 20 years from now, I might be in a slightly elevated position. Who knows? Now, across this great nation, commencement speeches will range from puppies to the apocalypse. I'm going to try to stick my landing somewhere in the middle. I want to focus on why words matter. You're all lawyers. Words are your life. It's the only arrows you have in your quiver. Beginning with commencement. And by the way, I phoned in this morning for cool and cloudy. Apparently no one was listening to my phone call, so I apologize for that. But commencement means beginning, and yet this is the end of the road for you here. Next stop, bar review. After that, the bar. And then who knows? Because one can do much with a law degree. I'm living proof of that. My daughter graduated from law school last year. Before the bar, she was stressed, convinced that she was going to fail miserably. She actually passed with flying colors. Trust me, if you made it through this place, you will pass with flying colors. Before law school, she had spent 8 years of her life working in the not-for-profit field. She then went to Peru with a backpack, no job, no place to live, where she found work at an elementary school in the Urubamba Valley. When I talked to her on the phone, I asked her one question that every dad asks: is it safe? My daughter said, define safe. My hair was not this color before she moved to Peru. I picked her up at the airport when she returned home, and she was already planning her next adventure. I was hoping, and her mom was hoping, for safe and near us. No, next stop was the Texas border helping asylum seekers. And when she was doing that, it was during another administration, and the place was hopping. She also worked with the ACLU as a translator. During that time, she called us and asked if we would support her going to law school. She explained that with a law degree, she could be a better advocate for the community she wanted to help. Now look, she's a smart kid. I just didn't think she could sit still for 3 years. But we insisted she work at a law firm for a year, and she did. Then she went off to law school for 3 years, and she thrived. My final book stop tour was last fall in Baltimore, where she went to school. So I was there for her swearing in into the bar in Annapolis. I held it together until she rose and took the oath. And then Dad wept at that moment. And I have to think that a lot of parents out here are going to weep when you guys take your oath too. Now my client works for the state of Maryland, representing people who can't afford lawyers. And let me tell you, she will never, ever lack for clients. I was a political science major. What do you do with that degree? I did the pros and cons. I like writing, I like reading, I like researching and debating, which seemed a good fit for law school and being a lawyer. So I decided to take the plunge, and I was lucky, very lucky, to get into UVA. I frankly admit I could not even get into UVA today at all. Like my daughter, I deferred for a year. I never had met a lawyer in my life. I had no idea what they did. So I worked at a law firm for a year to see what lawyers actually did. My conclusion: they seemed well fed. They had nice clothes, for the most part, and they had comfy offices, and I didn't hate it. So off I went to UVA. My first day of school, my clunker car wouldn't start, and I just put $1 worth of gas in it. This was 1983, by the way. So I walked, all back roads. I got hopelessly lost. No one I ran into and asked for directions apparently even knew that Virginia had a law school. I climbed fences, I fell over a fallen tree, I was chased by dogs, but I struggled on. You see, I had been told that if I was late, my seat went to someone on the waiting list. So I got there with about 10 minutes to spare. I found 300 pages of reading already assigned, and presumably already read and thoughtfully analyzed on top of it. And I was given a handy placard that you slide into your seat marker, so professors can embarrass you by name in front of everyone. I don't know if they still do that here, but I remember thinking how much I cherished those moments. Professor Tom Bergen did our introduction in Kaplan Auditorium. I still remember vividly his opening line to the class of 1986. Welcome to all those who did not get into Yale. I had a fab meal plan back then. It's called a vending machine. I always did 7-course meals, a coffee, and a 6-pack of crackers. I was somewhat thinner in those days. While others are trying out for moot court and law review, I was back in my apartment trying to write and sell short stories to places like Playboy magazine, which back then published some of the finest writers of the day. I, however, never appeared in Playboy, either in writing or otherwise. In my second year, I worked during the summer at a law firm in D.C. I'd interviewed with them solely because of where their office was located, in the Watergate office building. For those of you who don't know Watergate, ask your parents or maybe even your grandparents, they'll tell you. I still have the business card, David Baldacci, Esquire, Watergate office building. I got a permanent offer from that firm that summer, so my third year here, I arranged my classes so I went full-time, 9 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I went to work at the firm in D.C. on Thursday and Friday to get a jump start on my career. I lived with my cousin in Arlington, Virginia, in a building that was so old it had neither air conditioning nor heat. The floors were so unlevel that if you fell, you just kept going. My first legal assignment was to write a brief in support of our client's long-arm jurisdiction motion. Like all of you will, I agonized over the words to use. Now, as Mark Twain once said, the difference between the right word and almost the right word is a matter of great importance. It's the difference between the lightning and the lightning bug. Now, in writing, legal or otherwise, verbs are critical. Nouns and adjectives are important too. But if you see an adverb, shoot it on sight. In the brief, I wanted to show that the defendant was not just legally wrong, but arrogant in trying to get away with something. So I chose the verb flit. The defendant should not be allowed to flit in and out of the great state of Texas, reaping all of the benefits but shouldering none of the responsibilities. A month later, the partner gave me the judge's order granting our motion, and the judge pretty much copied my brief word for word with emphasis on the word flit. The partner promised to buy me lunch. That never happened. But I got flit, and words do matter. Now, my third novel, The Winner, is set right here in Charlottesville. And The Winner is about the lottery. And I wrote a paper about lotteries when I was here at the law school. Lotteries are just coming back into vogue. Back in the 1800s, they'd all been banned because they were all corrupt. But now states wanted to raise money, so they brought lotteries back. And I wrote a paper about it, and that made me think about lotteries while I was in law school. So The Winner's plot is very simple. I have a villain, Jackson, who figures out how to fix the United States National Lottery. He doesn't do it through a conspiracy or inside information. He does it through science, chemistry, in fact. The cool thing about chemistry is when you take A, couple it with B, you get C as a result, not 80% of the time or 90% of the time, but 100% of the time. So that's how I fixed the United States National Lottery. The book came out, everybody enjoyed it, time went on. A few years later, I got a call from a reporter from La Repubblica, which is the largest daily newspaper in Rome. He said, "Mr. Baldacci, have you been following the Italian National Lottery scandal?" I said, "Why, no, I must have somehow missed that." He said, "Someone figured out how to fix the Italian National Lottery and used a method almost identical to the one that you wrote about in The Winner. Would you like to comment on that, sir?" I said, "Well, my first comment is this. That's bad, very, very bad. I would never encourage anyone to fix a lottery. That's a felony. Don't do it." My second comment, "That is like the coolest thing anyone has ever told me in my whole life. It works." The validation just seeped out of me at that point. But please do not go and buy a copy of The Winner and try to fix the lotto. They will find you, and I'll be sad for you, and you will be a lot more sad than I am. So don't do it. But words do matter. Now we get a wee bit more serious. I was born in Richmond, Virginia, right down the road from here, the old capital of the Confederacy. When I entered the world, Jim Crow and racial segregation was the law of the land in Virginia and in all of the South. Fast forward, and I still remember protests in the late 1990s when they wanted to add another statue on Monument Avenue. It was of the iconic native Richmonder Arthur Ashe, tennis champion and a wonderful humanitarian who did so much good in the world, but he was also a black man. They didn't want him on the same street with Bobby Lee and Jeb Stuart in the 1990s. Now the Confederates are all gone, and Arthur Ashe is still there. Alanis Morissette would probably call that ironic. I would call it poetic justice. Words do matter. Now, as you know from going to law school here, the 1954 Brown versus the Board of Education decision ruled that racial segregation in public schools violated the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution, even if the schools are separate but equal, which they never were. And Brown, too, handed down a year later, the court ruled that state public schools needed to desegregate with all deliberate speed. How quickly did it go? Well, here in Virginia, they started desegregating in earnest 17 years later. Other southern states completed that process in the 1980s and the 1990s. Reportedly, the last school district to desegregate was in Mississippi in 2016. The South clearly put all its chips on the word deliberate, not speed. Again, words do matter. As a young boy, I was told that the separation of the races is the way the world should be ordered. What saved me? Books. Mark Twain also said that travel was fatal to prejudice. He was the most traveled man of his generation, circumnavigated the globe several times. What did he mean by that? Hey man, if you see people where they live, you're going to find out something really fast, just like you and me. I had no way to travel back then, but with books, I traveled the world without a plane ticket or a passport. You will meet far more people in books than you ever will in real life. You can go to places in books you can't go to in real life, like the past and the future, which provides powerful context and perspectives, which helps you make better decisions in the present. In books, I met people that didn't look like me, pray like me, eat like me, dress like me, speak like me, but we all shared the common core of humanity. Books also teach you the greatest of all human attributes, empathy. I heard recently that a certain trillionaire, you probably know who I'm talking about, believes that empathy is a weakness that needs to be stamped out of human beings. Empathy is actually our greatest strength and will always remain so. Why? Because it leads to all the best in humanity. Respect, bonding, dignity, and love. Just by turning the pages. Your personal experiences, no matter how wide and varied, are not enough to complete your journey as a human being. Books fill out your lives and also make you smarter and more caring. There is no other way that I know of to do it. Racists want to divide and conquer, and they use the boogeyman approach. Fear them because they are different. That argument was tried with me, but fortunately I had met all sorts of boogeymen in books, so that argument's power was gone. Which is why books are body armor against bigotry and pretty much everything else that's bad in our world. Now, we all know the book censorship and book banning that's going around the country. I can tell you for a fact the problem is not that young people are reading inappropriate books, it's they're not reading nearly enough books. In fact, reading rates are plummeting for all ages, young and old. The average person will spend 18 months of their life reading for pleasure over an 80-year lifetime. But all of you will spend around 30 years of your life staring at a screen about the same time you will be sleeping each night. And yet books are super fuel for our brain, which is our greatest asset. It will help define who we are, whether we reach our potential or not, and also how we will treat other people. The AI community has stolen pretty much every book and academic paper published in the last 70 years to feed into their large language models to create superintelligence. I've been embroiled in a lawsuit with OpenAI and Microsoft for 3 years over this very issue. They stole all of my books without permission or payment. All your law professors back here who have published books, they've taken all their books too. Now, if you believe these tech bros are geniuses and they see out of all the possibilities, the only way to create superintelligence is to feed every single book written into their AI models, what does that tell you about the importance of reading and achieving high intelligence? It tells you that books should be a huge part of your life. In fact, you should be reading books every day. However, the use of social media has neurologically rewired our brains so that we are losing the ability to focus on more than a few pages and to critically think at optimal levels. At the same time, the tech companies are force-feeding their chatbots with every book they can steal to make them smarter than we are. And then they tell us to be efficient and productive, you must use AI brains because they're faster and more efficient than you. Look, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist or a thriller writer to see the end game there. The question you have to ask yourselves, though, is a pretty important one. Is that the world you want to live in for the next 60-plus years? This is our 250th anniversary. We are the world's longest continuously surviving democracy. Sounds like a long time, but compared to other forms of government, we're an infant. Democracies were not popular when America was born. The one strong leader blueprint was all the rage. But America became a role model for other democracies across the world. We fought a war of independence to free ourselves of a king and to have the right to self-governance. Now the pendulum is swinging back, unfortunately, very hard toward the one single ruler model. My first novel, Absolute Power, was published 30 years ago. It was about an American president who thought he was above the law. I took the title from a quote by Lord Acton, "Absolute power corrupts absolutely." Books will tell you that people make poor gods. We are just not up to it. It's critical that we engage every day in reading as much as we can from as many different sources as we can. We also need to read to be engaged citizens in a democracy. Look, in Russia, it doesn't matter who you vote for, the same guy's going to win. But if we don't fully engage the citizens in this country, there will only be one result. No matter who you vote for, the same person will win regardless. Now, if you think that can't happen here in America, you have just guaranteed that it will indeed happen in America, because complacency is self-prophecy perfected. Like you exercise your body to remain healthy, you have to exercise your citizenship muscles, or else they atrophy. Do you know that if we achieved a 12th grade reading level in this country for everyone, from the current 6th grade reading level, the following social ills would disappear from our country? Poverty, hunger, homelessness, crime, and social injustice. Vanished. Why? Because all of them, without exception, are tied to low literacy rates. Again, why? Reading is not just about enjoying a book on vacation. We need to stop thinking about it that way, because it vastly diminishes the impact it has on all of our lives. This is how me, a wordsmith, would put it. People who are not readers will never come close to realizing their full potential as human beings. Full stop. So what would you give for hunger, homelessness, poverty, crime, and social injustice to go away? What would each of you give? I think I would give all that I had. I know that all of you have been reading a lot over the years. Otherwise, you wouldn't be graduating from the finest law school in the country. I knew that line would work. But now is not the time to take your foot off the gas when it comes to reading. High-level literacy should be one of our society's strategic missions. It is the fastest, most efficient way to make all of our lives better. Remember, we only left the Dark Ages and entered the era of Enlightenment when Gutenberg invented his little printing press and books became widely available. That was no coincidence. Books represent our shared conscience, our shared humanity. We're the only species that can read, and we're the most intelligent species. Again, no coincidence. So promise yourself that throughout your life you will consistently and widely read. And if you have kids, that you will do all you can to make reading fun for them and to make it a part of their lives. And that you will dedicate yourself to turn as many non-readers into readers as you possibly can. Because words spoken and words read, they do matter, and they matter greatly for all of us. If you do that, then with all the other wonderful things you will do in your lives, they will be done in a country and also in a world that will be far better for all of us, guaranteed. Congratulations, class of 2026. Now go rock the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David, for your thoughtful words, and Mark, for yours as well. David, when this class said that they would like to invite you to be their speaker, I knew personally at firsthand just what a wonderful experience they were in for. And Mark, your words about your class are absolutely true. They embody, and you embody, everything that is great about this law school, and that's true of you as well. Thank you. One of the most enjoyable parts of the ceremony is the opportunity to recognize some of those who've contributed so much to the law school over the last 3 years. You will see on the back page of your program the awards that have previously been conferred, which we are also celebrating today. You will also see a description of the awards that I will announce in a moment. The recipients of these awards do not know in advance that they've received them. These awards are given based on the recommendation of the faculty, and we are truly honored to have had these graduates as members of our community over the last 3 years. If you are a recipient of an award that I announce, please stand to be recognized, and please pick up your awards at the Student Affairs Office following today's ceremony. The Virginia State Bar Family Law Award was established by the Family Law section of the Virginia State Bar. It is presented to the graduating student who's demonstrated the most promise and potential for the practice of family law. The 2026 recipient of the Family Law Award is Abigail Grace Holston. The Virginia Trial Lawyers Association Trial Advocacy Award is presented to a graduate who shows particular promise in the field of trial advocacy and who intends to take the Virginia bar. This year we have 2 award winners, Kevin Brian Bacon and Eli Sinai. The Eppa Hunton IV Memorial Book Award is presented to a graduate who demonstrates unusual aptitude in litigation courses and who shows a keen awareness and understanding of the lawyer's ethical and professional responsibility. The 2026 recipient of the Eppa Hunton Award is Hannah Sarah Shapiro. The John Olin Prize in Law and Economics is presented to a student who's produced outstanding written work in the field of law and economics. This year, there are 2 Olin Prize recipients, Rose Blackwell and Tron K. Nguyen. The Earl K. Shaw Labor Relations Award was established by Mr. Shaw, class of 1934, and is presented to the graduate who shows the greatest promise in the field of labor relations. The 2026 recipient is Alfred C. Arun. The Edwin S. Cohen Tax Prize was established by the late Professor Cohen and is presented to the graduate who has demonstrated superior scholarship in the tax field. The 2026 recipient of the Cohen Tax Prize is John William Woods III. The Mortimer Kaplan Public Service Award was established by Mr. Kaplan, class of 1940, who throughout his lifetime was associated with the law faculty and the law school. The Kaplan Award is presented to a graduate entering a career in the public service sector who demonstrates the qualities of leadership, integrity, and service to others. The 2026 recipient of the Kaplan Public Service Award is Carter Farnsworth. The Pro Bono Award is presented to the graduate who contributed the most to the law school's pro bono program. The 2026 recipient of the Pro Bono Award is Haley E. Richbart. The Herbert Kramer Herbert Bengal Community Service Award was established by the late Mr. Kramer, class of 1952, and is presented to the graduate who's contributed the most to the community during his or her time in law school. The 2026 recipient of the Community Service Award is Mallory Page Garner. The Roger and Madeline Traynor Prize was established by the late Chief Justice Traynor and his wife and is presented to 2 graduates who have produced outstanding written work. The 2 2026 Traynor Prize award winners are Nicole Ann Emery and Alexander Ryan Hanna. The LLM Graduation Award is presented by vote of the faculty to an outstanding member or members of the graduating LLM class. There are 2 LLM Graduation Award recipients this year. They are Annika Kimberly Flugen and Yorgi Nomoski. The Robert E. Goldston Award for Distinction in the Classroom was established by Mr. Goldston, class of 1940, and is presented by vote of the faculty to the graduate who has contributed the most to classroom education by his or her outstanding recitation and discussion. The 2026 recipient of the Goldston Award is Caroline Lauren Daniel. The Tracy Grieshaber-Zeller Class of 1999 Memorial Award is presented both to the student who finishes with the highest academic record after 5 semesters, as well as the student with the highest academic record after 6 semesters. The 6-semester Zeller Award will be announced over the summer after all final grade calculations have been made. The 2026 recipient of the Tracy Grieshaber-Zeller 99 Memorial Award for 5 semesters is Brian C. Curtis. Mr. Curtis also receives the Z Society Edgar F. Shannon Award, which was established by the Z Society to promote outstanding scholarship at the university. Congratulations, Brian. The Thomas Marshall Miller Prize was established by Emily Miller Danton in honor of her father and is presented by vote of the faculty to an outstanding and deserving member of the graduating class. The 2026 recipient of the Miller Prize is Philip Matherin Hedden. The James C. Slaughter Honor Award was established in honor of the late Mr. Slaughter, class of 1951, and is presented by vote of the faculty to an outstanding member of the graduating class. The 2026 recipient of the Slaughter Award is Elizabeth Rose Giacone. The Margaret G. Hyde Award was established by the late Forrest G. Hyde, Jr., class of 1915, and is presented by the vote of the faculty to the graduate whose scholarship, character, personality, activities in the affairs of the school, and promise of achievement have entitled him or her to special recognition. The 2026 recipient of the Hyde Award is Kyle Trotman. Congratulations to all the award winners. Let's give them one more round of applause. Now, before we present our graduates, I have a few announcements about milestones. We have 2 members of the university facilities maintenance team for whom this is their last graduation before retirement. William Lane and Sonny Collier are responsible for setting up this ceremony each year, and they will be retiring after 25 and 31 years of service, respectively. Let's give them both a hand to show our thanks. Also, this will be news to many of you. Lisa Napier, our Student Affairs Office Manager, is celebrating her 38th and final graduation before retiring in December of this year. Lisa has looked after thousands of law students who've passed through our doors, and she's always here to help see them off at graduation. This year, she's helping organize the hooding table over there, so students, you will get a chance to see her there. Lisa, thank you for everything. We will miss you so much. Finally, I was recently informed that 2 of our graduating students got married yesterday here in Charlottesville. So let's congratulate Claudia Macri and Tim Padawaran. I don't know what can be more UVA than that. We will now prepare the stage for the presentation of the graduates.
As we prepare the stage, please note that there are professional photographers taking pictures of each graduate as they cross the stage today. For everyone's safety, we ask audience members to please remain in your seats during this portion of our program. Thank you. I will now call the roll of the graduates. The candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor: John Christian Adams. Isaiah M. Afrin. Catherine Hyun An. Catherine Anderson. Gabriel de Souza Camargo Andrade. Regina Francesca Argenzio. Alfric C. Arun. Louisa Auerbach. Denise Katerina Azade. Miller Clark Bacon. Sierra Clade Badio. David E. Bainbridge, Jr. Kevin Brian Baker. Michael David Barton. Alex Baselga. Andrew Bender. Rose Blackwell. Alexander Jackson Hyde Block. Hannah Melissa Borja. Jacqueline Tyree Bostick Clark. Preston Lee Bowden. Brooke Elizabeth Boyer. Gabrielle A. Bradford. James Q. Brennan. Elijah Eugene Brown. Frank Wade Cahoon. Allison McCabe Carter. Drake Thomas Cave. William H. Chambers. Brenda Chen. Elizabeth Malia Chittenden. Laura B. Choop. Caitlin M. Clark. Noah Coco. William Andrew Collins. Allison P. Conklin. Miles Cooper. Allison B. Cruz. Cole David Cuno. Brian C. Curtis. Caroline Lauren Daniel. Catherine Alexandra Danowitz. Emma Sophia DeBarra. David Del Terzo. Alexei Delara. Olivia Dimitriadis. Nicole Catherine Dimitri. Shunkai Ding. Philippa Alice Dobbin. Michael Alex Dommel. James Patrick Donlin. Tyler S. Doherty. Connor J. Downs. Michaela Sidney Drucker. Yijen Du. Ariana Loren Duford. Cassidy G. Dufour. Emily Eileen Eason. Roland Daniel Eberhard II. Austin R. Emery. Nicole Ann Emery. Carter Farnsworth. Thomas V. Feingold. Rachel Texera Ferguson. Carolyn Rose Fernandez. Anna Gabrielle Figueroa. Avery Sage Finkelson. Rebecca Pauline Fisher. Cope M. Fitzharris. Madeline Grace Forbes. Abigail Lindsay Ford. Connor A. Ford. Everly Alexis Forte. Anna Catherine Fortunato. Margaret Ann Fox. Kelsey M. Frizzell. Derek Paul Furr. Walter Gabriel. Elizabeth Rose Gachone. Aaron Shaw Ghaffari. Carter E. Gameri. Mallory Page Garner. Mirabelle B. Alex Joan Giannatasio. Morgan Ashley Gibbs. Elizabeth Jean Gilbert. Raquel Gonzalez. Mark William Graff. Brianna Green. Lauren Mai Grahowski. Mary Gardino. Miguel Gutierrez. Olivia M. Heimrall. Anna Hallman. Matthew David Hamilton. Alexander Ryan Hanna. Caitlin Harder. Philip Matherin Hedden. Madeline Rose Mersel. Adam S. Hemmeter. Julian G. Heskey. Justin Richard Haywood. Alexis Christina Hill. Catherine Spear Hitchcock. Jenny S. Ho. Lydia Minghua Ho. Kaylee Jordan Holmes. Abigail Grace Holston. Natasha Holtman. Laura Hopman. Darby Howard. Catherine Hu. Adil Siraj Hussain. Hannah Jean Holler. Amelia Akira Isaacs. Sami Islam. Aaron Kim Jenks. Christopher Harris Jernigan. Haija G. Daisy Lynn Johnston. Ryan M. Johnston. Ashanti L. Jones. Kaylin Glenn Youngmeyer. Martha Abigail Justice. Juliana Marie Kantner. Charlotte O. Carlson. Nicole Kasabian. Ryan Michael Keene. Harrison Edward Kirby. David Keller. Jackson Orwick Kandawal. Emily Jane Kiley. Steve Kim. Jonathan R. Kuiper. Kevin J. Kissinger. Michaela Knutson. Emily Elizabeth Kostanecki. Josie Ladle. Jonathan B. Loria. Anne Elise LeBlanc. Lance Joseph Leday, Jr. Adeline Shinrong Lee. Eugene Lee. Theodore Leeds Armstrong. Laurel Lehman. Anna K. Lemke. Megan Elizabeth Lemon. Aldebaran Maria Levin. Brad T. Lewinsky. Sarah Si Hyun Lim. Samuel D. Lin. Ziching Lin. Daniel Jenkins Little. Natalie Gwyneth Little. Emily Ying Liu. Tyler N. Livingston. Hannah Catherine Liu. Daniel Alexander MacDonald. Claudia Maria Macri. Kathleen Annette Malloy. Lindsay Elizabeth Manginis. Mason Alexander Marche. Brendan Markey. Charlie Marquis. Abraham Noble Martin. Kyle D. Martin. Jackson Martingale. Cameron James Mayhew. Jonathan James McCutcheon. Virginia McDaniels. Mitchell McFetridge. Sophia McGraw. Chelsea Makia McKelvey. Joshua McKinney. Gregory McKnight Jr. Aaron S. McReynolds. Shekinah Dion Hadman Medalia. Mitchell Medina. Alexander Shaylin Mehta. Eric Bradley Minerding. Olena Anna Melnick. Ida G. Mengisti. Bridget Jesua Mensa. Veronica Rita Merrill. Catherine R. Matheny. Chloe Metz. Casey Kessler Mashad. Ella Dorothea Misson. Elizabeth Grace Baldwin Moreland. Sean Lucas Nail. Leah Renee Adler Newman. Tron K. Wynn. Christopher L. Nicolini. Riley J. Nicholson. Bradley Noble. Thomas J. Nolan. Neil Jude Noronha. Andrew Taylor Odell. Sarah O'Mara. Brian Pock. Thomas Buddy Gerald Palmer IV. Taewon Theodore Park. Jessica R. Perry. Timothy E. Padawaran. Joseph W. Paul. Yoselin A. Paulino. Shahar M. Pedazor. Jessica Trin Pentel. Glenn Reed Petty. James A. Pierpoint. John C. Plumeri. Jackson Prindle. Joshua Walker Pritchard. Indira Danielle Rajkumar. Ashley Ramsey. Nithra Indra Rastogi. Leanna Rathbun. Siraj Ranganathan. Lauren Nicole Rich. Haley E. Richbart. Calvin Richard Robinson. Kendall M. Rogers. Jackson Rolfe. Thomas W. Ross. Nicholas James Rushing. Daniel Rutenberg. Julie Ryan. Julia Ann Sabick. Samir R. Safarini. Olivia Yavuz Sahid. Kathleen Mary Samuelson. Brady Pierce Sanders. Catherine Mary Scott-Nicky. Kelly Kathleen Scrivener. William Seidman. Brooke Shanks. Hannah Sarah Shapiro. Samuel Lewis Jacob Shapiro. Colleen Sharkey. Sanadi Shashakiran. Serena Ann Shador. Isaac Sherman. Roma Sheth. Philip Shin. Andrew B. Silver. Reese Simpson. Braden L. Sims. Eli Sinai. Kanishk Singh. Caleb Andrew Smith. Elijah Niall Smith. Delaney Sniffen. Kaylee A. Soderholm. Kaylee Jordan Spires. Rachel F. St. Louis. Emma Claire Stein. Robert Francis Steiner II. Dylan Michael Stevens. Carolyn Grace Stice. Dominique Alexandra Strawn-Turner. Madhavi Subramanyam. Sneha Suresh. Neil Surya. Julia Elizabeth Taylor. Lily Chapman Taylor. Sarah McDaniel Templeton. Tyler Tidwell. Delaney A. Toomer. James Holland Torbert. Kyle Trotman. Daniel Tuft. Elizabeth L. Van Kamen. Marissa S. Varnado. Ariel Vassar. Shivani Vaikuntham. Blair Rose Wales. Kendall Marie Walker. Margaret F. Walker. Margaret L. Walker. Miranda Elise Waltz Peters. Cheryl Arcadia Wong. Avery Richardson Warmack. Alexander E. Webb. Thompson Ruger Whiteley. Justin M. Whitner. Montez Wiggins. Alexander W. Wilfert. Jared Isaac Williams. Catherine Jessie Wills. Patrick J. Wisniewski. Graydon R. Wolf. William Kirk Wolf. Morgan E. Wood. John William Woods III. Hannah Lynn Wyatt. I-Ching Yi. Daisy Tong Yu. Guillermo Nicholas Zacharias Brewer. Catherine Leah Zackerman. Jacob Samuel Zahalski. Jennifer Athena Zhang. Brian Ziegler. Sarah Kristen Zuby. And now the candidates for the degree of Master of Laws. Constance Bissognon. Eloise Blisonneur. Andre Borges Uliano. Aaron Ernest Brown. Yue Zhao. Taishe L. Chavis. Felix Leonhardt Diezer. Juaheng Du. Annika Kimberly Flugen. Nanako Funami. Konosuke Higuchi. Irem Ushuk. Rimpe Kawaji. Jielu Liu. Hitomi Nakatani. Yorgi Nomoski. Rayan Njim. Simon Benedict Pollock. Eric Felipe Sabadini Nakahara. Norahiro Shiomi. Yuko Shiomi. Ian Wilder Stam. Konstantin Johann Nikolaus Stöber. Keita Tajima. Natalia Tataru. Miki Mochizuki. Kosei Uchida. Xiaoyu Wu. Jingling Yang. And finally, the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Juridical Science, Marilyn Hodge. Lianghao Si. Yumio Wang. This concludes the roll of the graduates. Congratulations, everyone.
One more time, congratulations to all the graduates. I I know I speak for everyone here when I say how incredibly proud we are of each and every one of you. We'll miss you here at the law school, but we send you off on your careers bursting with pride and excited to see all you will accomplish. As you take this important step today, you enter a world with many uncertainties, but I am confident in your ability to navigate it. Here, you have trained in the rigorous skill of legal analysis and the no less demanding skill of engaging others constructively and in good faith. You have honed your judgment while also cultivating your humanity. As a group, you came to us with 342 different backgrounds and perspectives and one shared commitment to the law. You came with a commitment to the law as something worth studying and something worth practicing. And as you leave here today on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration and the birth of this nation, you leave with the same commitment to the American legal system and the rule of law. You also leave here with the benefit of all you've learned and all you've done as students, as externs, as summer associates and clinical students serving your first clients, as leaders and peers within this community. Your knowledge, experience, and commitments will serve you well, and I have no doubt that you will embody the very highest standards of our profession. As we send you off, please know that this is not goodbye. You will always have a home here, both at the law school and among your classmates. At orientation this year, I remarked on how layered our students' relationships are to each other. You are each other's academic classmates, professional peers, softball teammates and rivals, life partners, roommates, and friends. As you go forward in life, you'll find you have more boundaries separating the personal, civic, and professional in your lives. And that might well be easier. When Robert Frost said, "Good fences make good neighbors," he may have had a point. But there's something unique and special about all that you mean to each other while you're within these walls. Do not lose the skills you made in forming a community here or the relationships you built. And know that we, faculty and staff, are part of your community too. We have seen you grow from novice to expert. We have seen your hard work and its payoff. Some of us may have seen you at your most stressed or most discouraged, and all of us have seen you at your very best. We look forward to following your careers and welcoming you back as alumni, hearing all about your personal and professional milestones. I look forward to being on the road for alumni events and seeing you in your place where you are working and living and hearing about all you're doing. And in no time, these chairs will be filled by future graduates who will look for you and look up to you when they follow you out into the world. Congratulations, class of 2026. Congratulations and Godspeed. And I invite you and your families to join us inside for some light refreshments. Congratulations.